Welcome to TAP's Industry Analysis TIA Spotlight. 3 questions in 9 minutes. Yes, a short amount of time, but it will absolutely be full of great stuff. My name is John Ragsdale, co-founder of TAP Innovations, and we have a special guest today, Deepak Pareek, technology pioneer, World Economic Forum, and CEO of DigiAgri. Thank you for joining our show today, Deepak. However, before we get started with the questions, please introduce yourself and your company in less than 30 seconds.
Yeah, thanks, John. So as John said, that I'm Deepak Pareek, founder and CEO of DigiAgri. In DigiAgri, we actually work with the small and marginal farmers with the aim of digitizing the agriculture ecosystem. This whole activity is to actually create data from the ground, as well as typically different sources, including the drone, the satellite, the sensors, and using that data to create value for each stakeholders, making the ecosystem data-driven, providing the agriculture input companies, the commodity buyers, the government, the development agencies, tools and insights based on which they can take decisions which would make the complete agriculture ecosystem more efficient. We work in multiple geographies, including Southeast Asia, Middle East and North Africa, and Latin America. And so far, the journey has been awesome. We have been able to increase the profitability of small and marginal farmers by close to 34%. So that's what about my organization.
That is excellent. Glad to have someone from agriculture. I love the variety of folks that we're speaking with. Again, glad to have you today. We're going to jump right in. As we all know very well, we are experiencing one of the craziest world situations we've ever witnessed with COVID-19. So let's start with business challenges that you, your teams, your customers, or your vendors are experiencing in your industry. Question number 1, what are those new challenges you are facing since COVID-19 started disrupting the world?
John, as you know that you rightly said that agriculture is a little bit different from most of the sectors you might be dealing with. But at the same time, agriculture is the only activity which impacts every person on this planet Earth. Right, so no other domain. When you talk about banking, you still have only 70% of people doing the banking. So you disrupt 70%, still 30% are not disrupted. Or same is with education or healthcare. You take any sector, you'll be only impacting a part of the typically population of this world. Agriculture impact everyone because all of us eat food end of the day, right? So this challenge becomes very, very critical. If agriculture is not taken care of in these disruptive times, then actually the whole world is actually going to face huge challenges. Now, when we talk about the challenges, the first biggest challenge in agriculture today because of COVID is that because of lockdowns, right? When you're talking about close to 2.5 billion people being locked down, and substantial part of that in developing world, which are actually agrarian economies, you find that 70 to 80% of the food supply chains are getting disrupted. So what's happening is that the food which is being produced by farmers is not moving. For the simple reason is there is a lockdown, there is lack of labor, there is lack of transportation. But that is one big challenge actually COVID has thrown even on us. Because as I said that we work with the small and marginal farmers and the ecosystem players, including those who are buying from these farmers, those who are selling to these farmers. So all the supply chain currently actually is disrupted in most of the market we work in. Second challenge which we found is that actually how to keep our own people safe, right? So because agriculture doesn't happen in a room, so I cannot have a scenario where most of my work can be done from home, right? Because the farmers are on ground, advisory has to be on ground, and farmers are not having those level of equipment where they can take a Zoom call or a Skype call, and then they can understand things from remote locations. So you have to put people on ground, and that's why you are putting them in harm's way. So ensuring that their safety, ensuring that when they travel, they are in the scenario of lockdown, make them accessible, make them on ground, reaching to the client, that becomes very, very critical. And the third thing is definitely because of all these two things, you end up losing a lot of your revenues because you're not able to serve, because you don't have any option to serve them. So these are typically 3 big challenges I face as a company as well as the sector itself.
Real challenges, Deepak. I can completely understand, again, at a worldwide level. So with those challenges, what are you doing differently that you were not doing before?
Okay, so one of the critical things which we have done is that we have tried to create a lot of digital tools for farmers themselves, where the first training we give them is how to use a WhatsApp, right? Because WhatsApp is something which is easiest thing for them to understand. for Zoom and all that, they need a lot of infrastructure which they don't have. But most of them, they do have a smartphone, or their kids are having a smartphone. So what we did is that actually we created an application which is typically a bot on WhatsApp. So now what my farmers are able to do is that they can send me very simple questions, and there is a bot which takes care of those answers. And in case there are some other questions which are not being answered by the bot, it is directed to the human being, and human being react to that. So first thing is that actually like the chat bot which we did, which is already having a lot of positive impact. Second thing which we started doing with the farmer is that actually we started putting up a lot of call center sort of activity, where like typically in the past we were doing a lot of things on ground. We started creating our own SOPs and best practices, where we are able to make a phone call and get things done on phone more than just typically being physically present there. Third thing which we did is that actually we collected a lot of information about some value-added services which will make farmers to reach out and take a little bit more pain while working with us. For example, identifying the closest storage facilities, putting it on map, typically GIS systems, identifying the logistic service providers, what areas they work, then again putting that on a GIS map, and then ensuring that actually through the call centers we are able to serve our farmers and get them these typically logistic players, the supply, the cold storages and all that, so that the additional value-added services can be provided to the farmer. The whole idea is not to make money here. The whole idea is that actually we are seen to be standing with our customer in the time of distress with them. So these are typically things which we did, to solve some of the challenges which we have faced.
Very creative, and sounds like you guys adapted and moved really quickly on those. Excellent. Now for the last question, again, a brainstorming question, I think outside of the box type question. If money and resources were not an issue, what would you do?
See, we have understood because of the COVID that the current way of managing the supply chains and value chains in agriculture is not sustainable. So for example, if sitting in Dubai, I need to get my kiwi from New Zealand. Believe me, that's a pain point, right? Those type of systems are not going to work in the future, because we have seen that disruption of supply chain can make you change things very, very drastically, which most of the people won't like. So first thing, if we do have resources and money, we would like to change the way the farming itself is done, so that actually you are able to grow in a localized area everything possible for that specific region. So for example, when we talk about India, we are having a lot of provinces. For example, in US, you are having a lot of states from California to New York. So why can't New York grow at least 90% of the food they consume, right? We'll have to start thinking in those ways. Today, when a city is locked down, you don't get food supplies from outside the city. So you need to create more vertical farms. So cities will actually, a smart city would be a city which will ensure that 80% of their food supply is coming within the periphery of 30 kilometers of the city. So that needs your urban farms. Another thing is that actually you have to ensure that the food habits of people change to adapt to the local available products. So from looking for exotic things, you'll have to start that where 80 to 90% of people start consuming something which is grown within vicinity. So the whole concept of agriculture is going to change. Second thing which I strongly believe is going to change is that actually when we're talking about the small and marginal or small and medium-sized enterprises, you'll find that majority of the startup, right? When we start, the focus is they are generally becoming investment-driven companies. So you are seeing that actually the COVID-like of environment, right? Can put you without revenue for 3 to 4 months. Those companies which cannot survive for 3 to 4 months, right? They are going to die for sure. And that's what is actually, if you see from the World Economic Forum to the IMFs of the world, they're predicting that you will be having close to 1 billion people getting out of jobs. But that is because actually we have been dependent so much on valuation game rather than the value addition game. So the organizations, including ours, I believe they need to start focusing on where they are actually unit economic positive, profitable companies rather than something which depend heavily on investment, the Oyo rooms of India or something where actually you need to burn $1 billion just to sustain yourself. Those things need to change. So I believe that the VCs, the investors, the merchant bankers, everybody will have to change the way they are working with the small and medium-sized enterprises going future. So I believe that these two things I would like to do, change the agriculture ecosystem as well as change the way the SMEs are functioning today.
Wow, those are really creative ideas and revolutionary. But knowing you, right, you're going to pursue those and we'll see what happens. I can't wait to see it. Now, I appreciate you taking the time. Excellent ideas. Hopefully this video will inspire you and others to find ways to implement some of those ideas during this pandemic. Any final comments from you, Deepak?
Yeah, so I would like to end this discussion by giving a one analogy where actually Corona or COVID impact on our economy is like just putting you below the water. Now, when you are below the water, actually, you don't know when you'll be coming up. And for that, either you need good supply of oxygen or you need a very, very strong lungs. So far, we have been in an economy where actually we have been relying a lot on oxygen cylinders. But now we'll have to get into the mindset where actually we'll have to strengthen our lungs. So because, uncertainty is something which disrupts any business more than anything else. So I strongly believe that let all of us work together to create an economy which is having stronger lungs rather than we depending too much on oxygen cylinders.
I like the analogy, right? I like having stronger lungs, both theoretically and physically. Again, thanks Deepak Pareek, Technology Pioneer, World Economic Forum, and CEO of DigiAgri, for joining us here on TAP's Industry Analysis TIA Spotlight. Stay safe, 6 or more feet apart, and healthy, and let's work together to battle through these challenging times.